Alright guys, today I'm going to be trying to swap out this cooling fan on a ThunderCat 1000. I didn't find any videos on how to do this, and it looks like it's going to be a little more complicated than it should be, but yeah, I think I can maybe make a video and help you guys out if you end up having to do this and don't want to take the entire four-wheeler apart. So first thing I did, this bracket right here, it bolts in right there. There is a 13mm bolt that just kind of holds all that together. You take that out, there's enough play you can loosen this 14mm, and these bolt sizes may not be correct. I don't know if these have been swapped out, but this one was a 13, that one's a 14. I took that loose just so that it would swivel, and then once it comes down here, just pull out on it a little bit. It'll bend and it shouldn't hurt anything, and just move it up out of the way. And that really helps you be able to see that there's some bolts in here holding this fan in. I don't know if you can see it up in there, but it looks to be like 4 10mm bolts. So I'm going to take all 4 of these bolts out. I've hit them with some PB Blaster, and I'm going to take these bolts loose and see what happens. I'm assuming that I'm going to have to take this bracket out down here, but let's just take these bolts out and see how much this fan moves. So I got the bottom section loose. I went ahead and took these 10mm out of the bottom of the radiator too for this little bracket deal, because I think we're going to have to make that loose in order to get some room. What I was going to show you guys, these bolts are extremely hard to get to with a normal wrench and a normal socket, but soaking them with PB, once I was able to break them loose with a socket, taking like a 1/4 drive socket with a small 10mm, a stubby 10mm, and break it loose, they just come off by hand after that. The hardest part is just getting something to them in order to break them loose. So now that everything's loose here, we'll see what we need to do as far as getting the rest of the stuff loose. I don't know if this is a bolt right here or not. It's kind of dirty. It looks like it might be a bolt. If that's a bolt, I should be able to loosen it and push that forward just enough to get some room to get this thing out. So let me clean that up and see if that's a bolt, because this thing is not coming out without a little bit more room. All right guys, we're on the other side of the four-wheeler now. Show you what I've done here. I ended up taking those bolts out at the top. It's got a 10mm nut on the back of it, and on the front it's like a 30, I think it's a 30 Torx, maybe a 25, I think it's a 30. And then what I did is I took this pry bar here and I stuck it kind of like on this bar back here. Let's see if I can get a shot of it. So catch the bar right here and then lift up on the radiator, and it'll come up enough that you can kind of just pull it forward and get it out of those little holes under there, that little guy right there. So now it's sitting about a ½ inch forward. And I did the same thing on the other side. It's got a little plastic screen here to keep it from hitting the winch if you got a winch. If you don't have a winch, you can probably pull it up a lot further forward. But now, with that room, we can actually, I think we can get this thing out pretty easily now. Let's go back to the other side here. All right. So the first thing I want to do is just take this bracket out, the lower mount for the fan. And guys, I'm doing this one-handed, so it looks a lot harder than it is or needs to be. There we go. Perfect. All right, so there's our lower bracket. That's out of the way. Now, I'd actually gotten the upper bracket loose on this side, because once it's pulled forward, this fan should come right out here. Okay, there's my cable. Oh, I see the bracket. I took the bracket loose and now it's catching me there. That's all right. And this upper bracket that I took loose from this one side has fallen down. And basically like one of these little studs is catching the fan. So I'm gonna have to use 2 hands. So give me just a minute to get this out. Okay, there we go. Now the fan's out. And this is why I needed to replace this one. It is locked up. So yeah, it doesn't turn at all. I mean, okay, so now the new fan, if you didn't pay attention to how it came out, the new one, just make sure you got these 2 bolt holes with the power cable to the top, because your plug-in is going to be on the top. All right, and it's fed past the wires here. Okay. There we go. It's almost like this new one's just a little bit bigger, which maybe it's more heavy duty. Hell, I may end up having to take that bracket back loose. Good grief. All right, 2-hand time. All right, guys. So if you've stuck around for this long, turns out loosening this one side of the bracket is actually what you really do need to do. It'll kind of swing down and it'll catch, but you'll just have to kind of fish it past the fan. And then when you go back in with the fan, you kind of go ahead and feed it over this and then spin it into place. It was kind of impossible for me to video that whole thing because I needed 2 hands. But again, if you got a better way to do this, please make a video to help some other people out. That's why I made this one, because I didn't see anything. So again, hopefully this helps somebody. But all I'm going to do from this point is I'm going to go ahead and get the pins lined up with the fan, get the bracket bolted back in, reinstall the lower bracket, and then get the radiator pushed back. And then we got put these bolts in. And then I think I can just throw this back in. Oh, I forgot to mention, this thing here is pretty much just held in by like a zip tie. So it just hooks over the frame right there. And that little notch right there, if you can see it in the plastic, that little piece goes over the frame. And then it's just got a zip tie. I just cut the zip tie. I figured I'd use a different zip tie. So, all right, guys, hope this helps. Thanks for watching, and like I said, it can be done without taking the whole foiler apart. So yeah, thanks.